Hey guys, and welcome again to another episode of Our Shane, where we are exploring your weekly developmental questions and kind of exploring them and being able to kind of illuminate them hopefully a little bit more and give you a little bit of understanding. So the whole kind of aim of this is to be able to support you all in ongoing development, kind of explore some of those questions that you're unsure about, throw some light on some of those answers. You can find us over on our YouTube channel, which if you would search Shane Gage, you would find us. Those of you that want to follow our daily content, you can find us at our Facebook page, which is Spirit Meets Venture, and also you can find some of our adventuring aspects of all of what we do on Instagram if you search for shane.gad. So all of this is brought to you as well by our website, which is www.shanegad.com. So got some really I feel not only interesting, but I feel also really important questions to explore today. I got asked, and this is, I think, is a really important question, and I've get glad that it's kind of came up. A lady called Chasity Williams, and this come from our YouTube channel, and it come off of our Orbs and the Knock on the Door video. And Chasity goes on to say, what is the best way to make contact with loved ones? I've been trying to contact my son with no luck. And I really feel the emotion and the weight of that question. And I don't say that lightly, you know. During my career, during the work that I've done over these many years, I've had the honour to work with people that, and it is an honour, it is an honour to work with people that have lost many loved ones in many different ways. And, one of the questions that people say towards the end of the conversation, the consultation and the kind of conversation, if you like, is that, can you tell my loved one, my mum, my dad, my son, my daughter, my grandfather, my grandmother, my brother, my sister, my husband, my wife, can you tell them that I love them and that I miss them and that I think of them often and I think of them always? And my answer has always gently been the same, that they know, they've heard you. They've heard you. Importantly, they have heard you. They know what's in your heart. Okay, so they know what's in your heart. But when it comes to making contact with a loved one, this is a multi-layered, and it has some complexity to it. It's a multi-layered question. It's a multi-layered answer. It does have some complexity to it. It is that know that kind of intention, that kind of almost will that in a way is driven from sometimes so much kind of pain and sometimes coming from that sense of pure grief, that they want to meet that. There's a video that I done, Do the Dead Miss Us? Okay, I'm going to put links, let me make a note of that as well. It's really important that I remember to put links into this video, so you can find it. You search the channel, Do the Dead Miss Us? They really do want to meet that. They want to meet that level of kind of longing, that level of pain, that level of grief. They want you to know that they are there around you, even if you do not feel it. So when I kind of hear someone say to me, I've tried to make contact but I've had no luck, is know that spirit communication, first and foremost, can be incredibly subtle, and spirit communication often works through a thought and a feeling. But when we're so emotionally close to that outcome, and we're so emotionally close to that situation, that we're going to think that we're willing it, we're wishing it, that I like to think it is, but probably I'm imagining it. It's my imagination. I'm not getting anything. I don't know. Because sometimes what we're expecting is literal physical voices, literal physical manifestation, and literally seeing that person. And I absolutely hear that, get that, totally understand that. I've had those experiences when I was a young child. So, I know absolutely without a shadow of a doubt the possible, and the many hundreds of people that I come into contact each year that have had experiences at that level. And then you ask yourself, well, why am I having that level of experience? Now, quite often, contact is so subtle that sometimes we miss it and we put it down to our imagination. But know that it's really hard, to kind of know that you are having a real experience when there's such a rawness to what is going on and what you're feeling. For instance, yesterday I sat quietly before I consulted, as I always do at the start of my working day. When I'm consulting, I will always sit quietly just to kind of allow myself to begin to notice what's going on around me within the environment, and begin to notice as spirit make contact with me. Okay, so even though I'm open to allow myself to make contact with them, what actually is happening is they are making contact with me. Okay, and there is a difference. The other thing is we can't force it. They make contact with us. So they come to us, okay? And believe me, those of you that are, longing for that sense of contact and longing for that sense of presence and that level of communication, my heart tells me that those people would be there. But as I say to you, it can often be missed because it's so subtle. So for instance, yesterday, as I prepared myself to kind of consult and begin to work, sat quietly, and then in through the door, literally in through the door, come a gentleman. So I was aware very subtly of a presence. And then my next trail of thought is, who are you? Okay, then I got a sense of it was a gentleman. So it went from presence to being a gentleman, and then from being a gentleman I got the sense of it was a father figure. Then I got a sense of it was the client's dad. Okay, then a whole load of sense of information that come with that. But importantly for me, I am looking at what frame of mind they're showing me, what mood they're coming through with, what kind of eminence they are approaching with me with, because all of that is information. So as you hear me say often, all information is information. Now, I can put that down to that it's so subtle that that's my imagination. But a lady sits down with me literally 2 minutes later. Okay, so the presence appeared 2 minutes before the lady turned up. Okay, I sit down, I say to her, I've got a gentleman here, I believe it to be your dad. And then also the way he passed, yeah? Which actually was vital information and vital validation for her. And then most importantly, what was going on for her. You can put that down to your imagination. But know that, my heart tells me they're there, but sometimes it becomes missed. The other thing to kind of know and gently kind of recognise is that that we sometimes we try too hard, and what we're looking for is different to what we're looking for. So for instance, sometimes we're looking for literally to hear them, literally to see them, but it can be a lot more subtle than that. For instance, recently I had a lady come, and I felt and picked up that her dear husband had passed. And, you know, she was a very strong lady, but life absolutely wasn't the same since. And I said to her, I can see you in the garden, you know, I can see you in the garden, and you absolutely adore gardening. Not only do you adore gardening, but you're feeding the birds. You're there feeding the birds. And I said, and I can see you walking up to this rose. Okay, when this rose is out, I can see you walking up to this rose, and you hold it and you smell it. But not only do you hold it and smell it, you close your eyes, and it's almost you breathe in the smell. And she looked really, really shocked. And she looked at me and she said, yeah. And then she said to me, how do you know that? I said, because your husband's telling me. He's walking around with you in the garden. But get this. Not only is he walking around with you in the garden, he's doing it as he's always done it. In life, he would walk with you around the garden. And that moment where you kind of grab that rose and you smell it is something that you would do together, yes? And she looked at me and she was really kind of emotional, but at the same time overjoyed. She said, that's absolutely right. I said, do you know what, there's times where you're in the garden now where a memory of music is stirred up. And that music absolutely has an association of a memory that you both shared together. I said, but it happens randomly. She said, yes, sometimes when I'm out in the garden, when I'm gardening, suddenly I have a memory of music and a memory of our time shared together. I said, that isn't random, that is by design, that is him triggering those memories. You know, for me to know that someone's passed, they've choked, or they've had a heart condition, they've had a heart attack, or they've had cancer in the kidney, or they've had an impact injury, or, you know, a hemorrhage, there's a subtle body response to that. There's a subtle sense of a trigger happening within the body. Well, I also believe that can happen with memories being stirred up. The spirit can kind of stir up those memories. They within our presence, within our auric field, and then they stimulate the memory. You know, and I said to her, you're in the garden and those memories randomly happen, but they're not random because he's there with you and he's stirring up and he's triggering the memory. So please know. So for Chasity to say, what is the best way to make contact with your loved ones? I've been trying to make contact with my son, with no luck. To know that they make contact with us, okay, so they make contact with us in a whole manner of ways. The other thing I get, Chasity, is that it happened way too soon. Okay, it happened way too soon. And I also get the sense of him being a very sensitive. You come through as being, you know, or in life he come across as being, you know, kind of quite strong or feisty in a way. But I believe underneath all of that, he was deeply sensitive, and something to do with. Okay, thank you. Something to do with a rose soap bar. Okay, something to do with a rose soap or a rose soap bar, and something to do with a grandmother vibration. And my gut, my instinct tells me that this grandmotherly lady, this grandmotherly vibration is with him. Okay, but the rose soap bar, the scent of rose is really, really important. You know, the biggest thing that you're wanting to know that is okay. And I feel that, which is why probably the lady has turned up and she's showing herself. Okay. Hope that's kind of giving you some insight about that question. I was also encourage you very gently, and I really do understand and appreciate why you ask, and really respect and honour where you are. But I gently encourage you to go and look at that other video, Do the Dead Miss Us, okay? You know, absolutely. And the other thing that they kind of try to stir up in us is that they want us to live. They want us also to grab hold of life, you know, to allow ourselves to heal, allow ourselves to kind of grieve. But, you know, this is something we never forget. It's something that we find a level of acceptance in, but we never forget. But what they're wanting to kind of stir up in us is to live in a way, kind of grab hold of life and live it fully. That is something they want for us. Okay, and I don't say that lightly. So Chasity, I'm going to leave all of that with you, and hopefully this speaks to many of you. Yeah, I'm going to leave the love of spirit with you. The other question that I want to gently kind of explore, which I feel is very much interconnected. So what is the white tunnel? Have a listen to this. This is quite a long question, but I believe it's a very important one, and it will be kind of interesting to some of you. Storm Wings, okay? She actually wrote in Do the Dead Miss Us? An insight into the afterlife and spirit contact. That was one of my earlier videos. So Do the Dead Miss Us? An insight into the afterlife and spirit contact. So you can find the video, and links will be within this video as well. Hi Shane, the only true friend I ever had died some time ago. He was strongly into the spiritual theology and ideology which he had shared with me. It was of immense comfort believing he was at last free from his various physical and emotional torments upon his passing, and gone to a beautiful realm filled with beings of light. It was also greatly consoling for me to believe that, no longer in physical form, he would remain by my side in spirit. However, through long in-depth study of YouTube videos, I have since learned that souls should be aware the tunnel of light at death, which is not as originally declared a pure heavenly door, but in fact a trap to force souls back into an endless loop of life, of suffering upon the earth plane. Amongst other things, I've learnt that minds are wiped, erased by malevolent beings posing as the lords of karma. That this earth is not as necessary a school of learning, but a prison where dark beings facilitate our suffering, merely to feed upon the emanations of our pain. I've tried very, very, very hard to remain positive in outlook, but am quite simply overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of the stories out there. Should you be willing, I'd be most interested to learn your perspective on this regard. It's quite a, it's a massive question, and for some people, it's kind of quite huge, maybe even intense, or maybe even overwhelming. But here's the thing, okay? Here's the thing. I've had several experiences where spirit have come through and talked to me, to the client, about their experience of as they passed. And one that I really, really greatly remember, I greatly remember this, is of a gentleman that said, on passing, he felt this sense of complete lightness. There was this sense of just almost everything dissolved that was heavy within his physical body. So there's this feeling of dissolving, and then there was this almost this peace that washed over him. There was this peace that washed over him. And then there was a sense of, he saw the street that he grew up in, and there was the toys left out as there was many of a summer evening. There's gates open, and his grandparents' house was at the end of the street, and he got this feeling of just this lightness and this almost gravitational pull to this house at the end of the street. And he went round the back, as he always did, and then went in through the back door as he used to, and there greeting him was many people he hadn't seen in a very, very long time. And he said it was like literally returning home. This sense of belonging, this sense of going back home, and this sense of being greeted, and this sense of being held. And he said, all fear just dissolved. It just all completely dissolved, and there was this sense of lightness. There's some of the experiences that I've been honoured to come into contact with, and that Spirit has shared with me. I certainly, with some of the conversations I've had, have felt, a sense of lightness is being described on more than one occasion, with validation that the person I'm talking to, the person can relate to and take. Often they say that all the fear just dissolved. And the other thing that really, really is important, and it's something again over the last few days I've experienced again, is where people have been kind of terminally ill, been kind of suffering for a little while, is that they have encounters. And when they're aware, so sometimes, when someone's kind of terminally ill, you get that sense of they're here, they're not here, they're here, they're not here. In a way, they're moving between the worlds. So there's part of them that's still here, there's part of them that's moving towards spirit. So you've got this sense of them moving between the worlds. Is they will say that they dreamt of either their mum or their dad or husband or grandparents. But they say, I've had someone visit me, or there's reference to someone being there. And what it is Spirit is showing up beforehand. Spirit is showing up beforehand to assist them, to help them with the passing and the transition. Because quite often, you will come towards that with even if you have a belief. So this gentleman had a belief. Stormwings is telling us about this gentleman. He had a belief, but that belief is really, really tried and tested towards the end part of our life. So even though we have that belief, it's going to be tried and tested, is it not? And there's this whole feeling of you're thinking about that, you're reaching out. So what happens quite often in the experiences that I've come into contact with is Spirit often say that, and I've heard people say, that, my mum was telling me about her dad. She dreamt of her dad, and she dreamt her dad was standing at the end of the bed. Well, for me, her dad was standing at the end of the bed. He was there to help her with the transition. So, previous, there's nothing, a sense of, is there something there? Then they're getting a sense of loved ones that have passed beforehand, which changes everything, because then it's that feeling of, do you know what, I'm not going into an emptiness, I'm not going into a void, I'm being met, I'm being greeted, and these people are turning up before time. They're turning up before time. And I even know, I witnessed it with my own granddad, beautiful man that he is. He said about his sweetheart turning up, and his sweetheart turned up with some flowers. He also felt the cat that went back to, my dad and his brother and sister's childhood, and he described that. He never spoke like that before, but it was towards those last few weeks of his life he was having those kind of experiences. You have to ask yourself, is that a dream, or is that real? Or even if it's a dream, there's a realness to it. So, my feeling is they're there before time. So hence that experience of that gentleman describing that he was greeted by a lot of people he hasn't seen for a while, is that's exactly what's happening. So, you know, as much as I've come into contact with some of what you're talking about, Storm Wings, and these kind of low vibrational energies that feed off our emotion, absolutely. You know, I feel that there's a lot going on in the unseen, but I do believe that if we have a kind of innate belief, then that transition becomes a lot different. But also, you know, in the moment of people passing, you know, they're surrounded by that kind of love and that goodness. It just calms, and then it kind of helps with that transition as well. But it's already kind of there at times, especially with people that have been ill for some time, and those people that die suddenly. You know, there's that love there that in a way is like a gravitational pull, and maybe that's the tunnel light, is that it's love, you know, and it's showing itself in a physical form, in a visual form. So it's a light, you know. Love is light, is it not? You know, it is a grace. There's a light, there's a goodness to it in its pure sense. Yeah, there's a light and good and grace to it. You know, I would encourage you to have a look at another video which is about earthbound spirits. So that'll give you an understanding of some of the other aspects that I've touched upon and some of the aspects within your question. But as much as those kind of low vibrational energies kind of exist out there, I feel that, you know, it's important for us to kind of know that light prevails. Yeah, to not get caught up with it. And as for your friend Storm Wings, I get a very strong-willed gentleman. I would say he was incredibly stubborn. He was, in the nicest possible way, he had opinions, and he was very strong about his opinions. He also did not want to conform. I believe he read a lot, highly educated, loved knowledge, loved wisdom, loved people, but also loved solitude. Could be grumpy, but also could be loving. I believe absolutely he is beside you, and I do not say that lightly. I get a feeling of him fighting for some time, and I do get this feeling of fighting for some time. I also get a feeling that he was a man of authority, and he was also at one point greatly respected. I know that he is okay, and I know he's with you. Something to do with you standing and looking at a photo and you consciously asking him to appear and show himself to you. Okay, I'm going to gently leave that with you. Again, guys, some really interesting questions. A little bit kind of longer, the answer today. The video is going to be a little bit longer. But again, you know, I often say, you know, these are not just questions. These are, in a way, kind of experiences. And in a way, you could almost see them like a workshop, okay? So as always, if you have a question and you would like me to feature it in a future video, please comment below. You can find here resources, a wealth of videos, and a library of videos on our YouTube channel. If you search Shane Gadd, you can find our Facebook daily content on Spirit Meets Adventure. Links will be in this video, and our adventuring kind of photos and inspiration you can find on Instagram, shane.gadd. So I'm going to leave that with you guys. As always, a heartfelt pleasure, and I'll be seeing you all very soon. Take care, guys. Bye bye.